Adapting to someone in a first to set of ranked in Tekken 8 is one of the most difficult things to do in this game. Mostly because of how offensive this game is and how little counterplay there is to most of the character roster. So I thought I would talk about some quick general tips on what can help you get better at adapting quickly in a first to set of ranked. Now please do keep in mind that this is mostly a Tekken 8 issue. There's a reason why pro players like me and Aslan are asking for Tekken 8 to be best out of 5 in tournaments. That's because this game is so heavily offensive in the fact that most of that offense has very little to no counterplay. It's very difficult to adapt quickly in a first to 2 set. So don't beat yourself up too hard if you find yourself struggling at adapting in this game instead of ranked. It's just not that easy. But nevertheless, you can't always use this as an excuse and as a reason to keep yourself down. You can still adapt depending on what kind of person you're fighting, and this is what this guide is there to help you with. So with that out of the way, let's jump right in. Okay, so first things first, when you have your first set, your first match, the first thing you have to do is identify what kind of archetype or playstyle you are fighting against. Like, how is your opponent playing their character? Are they being too aggressive? Are they being too defensive? Are they just waiting for punishers? Are they relying mostly on gimmicks to cheese you out or strings to cheese you out? Identify this as quick as possible, as this will set out your game plan for the rest of the set. So let's talk about Alisa here, for example. So Alisa as my opponent, right? So Alisa as an archetype is mostly a very turtle-based character, has the best backdash in the game. So she's good at spacing and waiting for whiffs, right? Good with Punisher. And then when she's in a chainsaw stance, she becomes one of the best characters in the game because this stuff basically has no counterplay and she does so much damage plus frames and pressure when she's in a chainsaw stance. So basically they play defensive when in neutral and then hella aggressive when they have chainsaws out. But just because this is like Alisa's strength or how the character is supposed to be played or how the character works, that's not how everyone is going to use this character. People can play the character very different from what their archetype actually is. So for example, I faced an Alisa that never really used chainsaw stance. He just basically backdashed and played keep out and played the clock almost every single round. So if your character is being that defensive, that means you are free to just get in and pressure them as much as possible. And a character like Steve, for example, right? Steve has guard breaks, so you're putting her in mix-ups almost every single time with stuff like this, right? So eventually they have to start being aggressive, they have to start going in. So this Alisa player panicked a lot as well. They used a lot of power crush when they tried to come in, like back 1+2 or back forward 2, right? Back forward 2. Is it back forward back 2? How do you do that? A high power crush? I do not remember, but Alisa does have that high power crush as well. I think it used to be forward back 2 in Tekken 7, might have changed right now, my bad. So they would use this power crush and the high power crush as well. As soon as they try to get in, they would also do some YOLO hop kicks here and there and back 3+4s as well. So this worked a bit in the first round. I'll talk about how the first round is mostly used for gathering information. But when I realized this, I just became patient, right? I bait her, she does something unsafe, I punish. I bait her, she does a power crush, I punish, right? Hop kick, I punish. Then her playstyle changes when she realizes, okay, this guy is being patient, he's not just mashing buttons anyhow. So like I said, identify the kind of archetype or playstyle your character has and make a game plan off of that. Some that's being super aggressive, and depending on who you're playing, like I'm playing Steve, right? I have back ones, I have jumps for keep out. So if they're being too aggressive, I can use all these tools I have, right? The back kempo, back one. And that will work to my advantage as a Steve player, of course. Not as effective because, RIP Steve, counter-hit based Steve. But still, if they're being too aggressive, I have to set out a game plan to counter that particular playstyle that they have. So identifying an opponent's archetype and their playstyle is very important, as this might help you set out a game plan for the rest of the set. My next tip is to play safe early on, right? Just play safe, utilize pokes while observing what your opponent does. Notice their tendencies, because you don't want to give out free damage at first. Imagine round 1 start blue bolt last, right? -18. You're fighting a Brian, boom, jet upper. You've given them an opening, the next thing you know, you're at the wall and it's Brian, you've lost the round. So don't give out free damage when starting off. Just play safe, right? Play safe, use safe pokes, and just read their tendencies, read their habits. This gives you information, right? So there's no reason for you to go like all in and be like super risky stuff like down back fallers, going for these big lows, you know, like hella punishable moves. No, yeah, stuff like down back one. In the case of Lars, an example, but this applies to every character, so keep that in mind. Test them out, right? Down back one, just check them. The safe start, full crouch down 1+2, and then you realize, okay, they're not that potent at blocking lows. So that then you start going for your now big chunky ass lows of down back 4, forward 4-2, right? DE 3+4, right? So early on, boys, early on, it's all about information. Just be as patient as you can be, right? And play as safe as possible. I'll talk about patience in a different section, but safety first, right? Basically, safety first applies in Tekken as well. Don't go YOLO at the beginning of the match. You're just giving away free damage. You don't know if the person you're fighting was like what, go to distraction 5, just playing a new character. You don't know that, right? But once you do, it opens you up, you know, okay, maybe they're not punishing my YOLO moves, and you can start doing that shit because you've had the read. You don't want to do that without having any sort of information. So just play safely and use it more so as a way of gathering information at the beginning of the round or the first match in the set. Look for repetitive patterns and flow charts. So a lot of opponents, usually at mid to low level ranks, tend to rely on a lot of repetitive strings or patterns that they just rely on every single time. So it's your job to figure out what patterns they are doing a lot. So as a basic example, right, Armor King, right? Armor King's love, this is something basic you find at lower ranks, low to mid level ranks, down back 3 into outstanding 2, right? Because outstanding 2 is a frame trap. This is like +8, +6. Outstanding 2 is 12 frames fast. If they press buttons, Armor King gets a counter hit launcher for free. So that is an example of a pattern, right? So even strings, you find people spamming stuff like this, for example, right? Forward 2-1, forward 3-2-1, because last hit is a counter hit if you mash buttons. So learn what to do. Is it punishable? You should know that. Is it interruptible? Is the string tackable? That stuff you need to recognize and know about. Another example is Kazuya, right? Kazuya's love down 1+2. So down 1+2 into after 1+2 is a frame trap. I press buttons, he can launch me off of that. So what do you do to counter this? You have a parry, right? Use a parry to your advantage. So this is your job, right? You have to identify patterns, strings, and bad habits as well from your opponent. And this works to your advantage. Do they take pressure well? Like, what are they doing after you down forward 1? Are they panicking power crush? Are they panicking hop kick? So you learn to counter that by stepping and punishing correctly, right? So you are studying, as much as they are studying you, you are studying them as well. Again, the first match, basically, the first match, first 2-3 rounds is all about information. Now, again, like I said, maybe not for everyone, because first 2 is too short, let's be honest. But hey, this is what the game is right now, and you have to be as quick as possible when it comes to reading your opponent's habits, reading your opponent's patterns. A very, very important aspect of adaptation. Know your opponent's patterns and their habits as well, as this will help you in the long run of the set. Be very, very patient. Now, this kind of works in the same sense as playing safely, like I said, but patient on its own is a huge strength when it comes to adapting to your opponent. Remember, it's better if you know more about them than if they know more about you. So let's say you start this match, right? Then you just go in, YOLO. You're like, fuck it, I'm here for business. I don't have time, right? I want my rank, right? I want my rank right fucking now. As much as you might blow them out in the first set or the first round, you are giving them a lot of valuable information, whether it's matchup stuff, mix-ups, everything. They are downloading everything you're doing. At least if it's a good player you're facing, they are downloading everything you're doing. So there's no need to rush and finish the round quickly, because remember, it's a 1-2 set. There's going to be another set, so you don't want to give out that much stuff. So instead of reacting subconsciously, react to what they do, right? What information are they giving you? Every action they take provides information. Use that to your strength and react off of that, and not just because you think, okay, I'm better than this dude. Okay, so you just go in YOLO, give them information, and boom, in the second set they blow you up. You are causing your own downfall. So use the early rounds of the first game to gather information you can use in later rounds and games of the set. Patience is very, very important. I know it's Tekken 8, offense is insane, you can't be defensive all the time. But when the match starts, everyone is on the edge because they don't know what to expect from you. So I don't expect an opponent to just go in YOLO against you. If they do, there's a high chance they are going to lose that set because they are giving you information and you know how to react to how they do. So patience, very, very, very important. Okay, so this one is a tip I want to talk about before jumping onto ranked, because it does play a huge role when it comes to adapting in a set. So this is just consistency, player consistency. Now, what I mean by this, right? Let's talk about, I always give an example of the gym. If you're gymming, you always want to be as consistent as possible. You miss a day or two, that day becomes 2 days. You miss 2 days, it becomes 3 days. You miss 3 days, 4 days, so on and so forth. You basically lose your progress, you lose your gains. And then what happens when you go back in the gym 2 weeks after your last gym session? You won't be able to bench press that 80, that 90 kg. You won't be able to do that anymore, because you've lost your progress, right? So the same thing applies with Tekken. So if I play Tekken today, I play some ranked matches, right, have some good games, then I'm off the game for about a week or two, then I just jump on ranked immediately. It will take a bit for everything to just work out properly in terms of my reactions, cognition, everything, reflexes. It takes a while. So before that, you always want to do some drills, right? Whether it's practice drills, punishment training, literally just fighting the CPU right here, like this, for example, ultra hard, right? This does, it improves your odds of adapting quickly in a set, right? Instead of just jumping directly in a ranked match, playing some random ass matches like this is better, right? Punishment training, throw break training, fighting a ghost, whatever it is. Basically, warm-ups, drills, whatever you have, it is good to do if you've been off the game for a while. If it's just 2 days, bro, 2 days, 1 day, you miss a day, you boot up ranked the next time you're on Tekken immediately without doing any practices, any drills, you are going to get cooked. You'll be very slow as you'll be sluggish, you'll be dropping a lot of combos, you'll be missing punishers because you haven't had that warm-up, you haven't had that practice drill, or you haven't trained the mind basically to be ready. So it does play a role in adaptation. I know it's, dude, I am lazy. I'm the biggest culprit at this shit. I won't play ranked for a month, and then when I'm okay, let me try out some ranked, I won't even do any warm-ups, any drills or some shit like that, or just jump right in the game, and I get destroyed. This happened against a Devil Jin the last time I came back to ranked after a while. He kept on spamming up one. He kept on spamming this shit, this basically. I did not know how to deal with it. Basically, I forgot, right? Because you can just jab him out of this. But I forgot because I was off Tekken for quite a while. And because of that, I lost the set, right? So just a small thing like that can really affect you in the match. So make sure you do some practice drills, warm-up runs, matches before you jump into ranked after a long time of a long sabbatical or being off the game for a while. You have to be good at fundamental counters, fundamental defensive counters like sidestep, throw breaks, back dashing, space control, low parrying, all that jazz. I did mention how Tekken 8 is a very, very, very aggressive game, and it has very little counterplay to most of what characters do. So that on its own is already hard to deal with. So if you don't have basic fundamental defense like throw breaks and sidestep, that makes life even more difficult for you, right? So you have to have basic stuff like this, right? Throw breaks down to actually have a better chance at adapting to your opponent, right? As you can see, my throw break game is not that great, right? So this is something very, very important. As it might sound very basic, guys, but in a first to two set, this shit matters, right? There's no way you're dealing with Claudio down back 1+2, right? You can't deal with that move because it's super oppressive and overpowered as fuck. So then you have basic throw breaks you can deal with by reacting, and if you can't do that, then your chances of winning in this game are super low, right? So basic stuff, sidestep, low parrying, all those defensive tools I've covered: sidestep duck, backdash duck, you know, space control. I've touched upon all these in so many different guides. So basic defensive fundamentals are good for adaptation, because again, when an opponent is aggressive in your face, right, there's a very high chance you won't deal with everything. This is Tekken 8, bro, right? This is Tekken 8. Remember, lowest win rate in ranked is 48%. So you're not defending everything. You can't have perfect defense in this game like T7, right? You're gonna get cooked if you're being hella defensive. So at least learn to deal with the basic stuff in the game. All right, sidestep, punish, get your step punishers correctly, get your throw breaks correctly, know your ranges of your characters, strongest with punishers, or that defensive jazz. This will help you improve against very aggressive characters in this game. My replay and tips. Now, if you watch my guides, you for sure know how much I emphasize on my replay and tips. This toolkit is amazing for learning just matchups and what you did wrong in a set. Again, people are lazy at doing this. Like, people just wanna play. Like this is a mistake people make in fighting games in general. People just do not like labbing and do not like research. Just wanna go into the bro of things and just go into a match, play, and that's it. You have to do your research. If you're struggling in ranked or just being like improving in general, being a good player, you have to do your homework, you have to do your research. So watch my replay and tips and just look at what you did wrong in that set. This is a huge part of learning how to be better or learning how to adapt at a certain set or a certain game, because the next time you find that character, you'll be ready for such bullshit, right? You're going to be ready. Like here, for example, with Reina, I ducked for no reason there, right? She just crouched and I ducked. Like, why am I ducking? She has no full crouch mix-up. So this is a huge aspect of adaptation in this game. This is, of course, sportsman stuff. Whilst you're not in a set, but research outside of the set. Do not sleep on my replay and tips. This is one of the best features Namco has ever added to Tekken. It's so freaking good, and you have to utilize this shit. It is so good, guys. Use my replay and tips to its fullest. Just as important my replay and tips is to adaptation, matchup knowledge is as well. Tekken 8 has 39 characters. Guys, 39 is fucking insane. And almost every character has like 100+ move list. So it is nigh impossible to know every bit and piece of a character's toolkit, but at least know the bare minimum of every character on its roster. Like, let's say Xiao Yu, right? Know what hits in AOP. At least, right? You might not know much about this character in terms of setups and frame traps, but at least know what hits are out of AOP. So at least you should know how to deal with that shit, because that's probably her biggest strength, right? Know how to hit her in AOP. You're facing a Leroy, right? What's Leroy's biggest strength? It's parrying. So spam grabs against his character. The bare minimum, right? One last example, let's talk about Lily. Lily has the best star sidestep in the game. What is your homing move? Use that shit to your advantage as much as possible. So just basic examples of the bare minimum you have to know about character knowledge in this game. It goes deeper, of course. You must know some cheese strings. Characters like Reina and Azucena can cheese you out with strings. Hwarang, Eddie, right? Know at least the bare minimum. Know every character's best lows. Very important. Know their lows. I did talk about this in my matchup knowledge guide. Again, please check out that guide. There's a playlist, guys. I have a tips playlist, so let's check out all those guides. I talk about all this in those guides. Do not sleep on matchup knowledge as well. Because if you go in a set, right, you find an Asker. If you know how to deal with Asker general, you already have a game plan to work with in that set. You get blown up, it's most likely because you didn't play the matchup right, so you have to adapt to the playstyle of your opponent, right? So that's the advantage of matchup knowledge. You have another layer, of what you're ready to deal with outside of just the character itself. So matchup knowledge also plays a huge role in adaptation, guys. Know matchup knowledge. Know your matchups, at least know the bare minimums of your matchup knowledge. So those are just some of the basic tips you guys can utilize in terms of adapting and getting better in a first to set. Now, like I said, this is not easy, especially in Tekken 8. This is the hardest it's ever been to adapt on the fly. Like for me, usually I'm good at it, but like I'm better in long sets. Like even in Tekken 7, I'm very good at long sets. First to sets, I lose a lot especially against characters I just don't know how to fight or I don't often run into. Like, but I find a Panda today, bro, I'm losing, right? I just don't care to lab against Panda, but that's just me. It's a me issue, okay? So it's very difficult in this game to adapt on the fly, but like you have to put everything I've talked about into practice, right? And this is just the general stuff, right? This goes deeper, bro. Like adapting goes deeper. The download, it goes deeper. These are like just basic general tips on adaptation in a first to set. But again, like I said, it's a Tekken 8 issue. It's very difficult to adapt to someone. There's really why people want, revenge matches, long sets in ranked or even tournaments. Want best out of 5 because it's a bit easier to be comfortable and start your opponent basically like that. Because in a game with this much bullshit in the first to set, man, I feel for tournament players. I feel for competitive players because ain't no way, bro. Ain't no way. So anyway, boys, that's that. I really hope you found this tips guide useful. If you did, please do consider subscribing. I do a bunch of tips and guide content like this. If you find yourself coming to my channel over and over again, hey, you love my content. So just do a favor and sub to your boy. Help me get to 10K, boys. We're on a journey to 10K. And of course, don't forget to that like button, subscribe if you're new. And boys, may the frame data be ever in your favor. GG.